Yo, Sanjay Uchiha here. What's going on, people? So, it's been forever and a day since I last did a Dragon Ball video of any kind. Yeah. So, I've been catching up with Boruto and Naruto based stuff, as you can see based on my previous videos. But I thought, for the sake of it, do a Dragon Ball video. It's been too long. So, of course, I am fully aware that the Dragon Ball Heroes anime is coming out in a few weeks, which I'm also looking forward to, and I'll be covering on the channel, of course. But I mean, for now, the only thing I can say is that Dragon Ball Heroes will only last for a time until the next main or major, well, the Dragon Ball Super movie is coming out in December. But the basic gist of what I'm trying to accomplish with this video or this discussion with you guys is that what do you guys think is needed going forward with the Dragon Ball franchise from a writing standpoint? Because as much as I enjoyed it, super objectively speaking, it wasn't the best the best series in the world. I'm sure all of you can attest to that at the end of the day, really and truly. But I've been thinking about it, and Dragon Ball is a series that, I mean, it's known the world over. It's popular. It's basically part of pop culture or whatever you'd call it at this point. So they can put out almost anything, and I guess fans will eat it up. Granted, you have those fans who will objectively criticize it, but for the most part, fans will eat it up. So I've been thinking that if you already have this massive following, why not spend time and improve on the writing quality going forward with the franchise? Now, I'm not saying that Dragon Ball needs to transform itself into this highly complex piece of writing or storytelling, because at the end of the day, Dragon Ball, at the core of it, it's a pretty simple show slash franchise from a writing standpoint, and that's part of its charm. That's part of what it intends to do from a writing standpoint. But what I'm saying is that Dragon Ball could benefit from just a bit more of an in-depth or a bit more complex storytelling. I'd say an attempt of this was made in the Future Trunks arc in Dragon Ball Super, but the execution was so poor, and it was kind of depressing, because you kind of realize how much potential or where the writing could have went, but it came down to the writers not having enough time, not following show don't tell, and not really spending enough time with showcasing the characters in certain situations to justify their actions and motivations, even though on surface level, like for example with Zamasu, that you could understand his hatred of mortals, but for the most part, you've never really seen him interact with mortals like that. I mean, on surface level, as a Supreme Kai, you can imagine he's been observing worlds for the most part, for like thousands of years. But it's one of those things where if you actually see it, as I was saying before, show don't tell, you could basically empathize or understand the villain more, which wasn't the case. So it comes down to this. Here's my little list of what I think the Dragon Ball franchise needs going forward in terms of improving its writing. So, first of all, proper power scaling. No, it sounds like something trivial, but honestly, after watching Dragon Ball Super, the anime version, my gosh, like power scaling is going to be crucial in the writing quality going forward for the Dragon Ball franchise, because the power scale really and truly affects a lot of things. One, for example, if the power scale was handled properly, Trunks and his involvement in the future Trunks arc would have been totally different. Just like how we saw in the manga, where he didn't really do much, but that made much more sense than what was done in the anime version. Granted, they could have used the traditional plot devices like the hyperbolic time chamber and all of that to get him stronger and all. Because in the grand scheme of things, if you compare a character like Trunks to Vegeta, Vegeta only took like 6 months to a year to basically get a hang of God Ki, and then by extension get Super Saiyan Blue. So by that logic and the fact that Trunks is half Saiyan, therefore having more potential, if they had done that, that would have been the perfect way to execute things. But that's just one instance throughout the many instances in Super where power scaling was completely thrown. Well, probably not power scaling, but just the consistency, the rate of development of the characters, and all of that. These are other things that really factor into power scaling as a whole. Because at the end of the day, Super did a poor job in really establishing a consistent power scale. 1 minute, I'm supposed to believe that Goku in his base is as strong as Super Saiyan God, and then at the next point, I'm supposed to believe that he's supposed to be impressed with sparring with Roshi. So there is definitely that. The next thing I'll say is that the show needs to focus on the new generation. Granted, this has been one aspect of the writing of Dragon Ball that's had some amount of success in the past, but in recent Dragon Ball material, not so much. I mean, it was really in its peak, of course, with Gohan during the Cell games, and after that, they tried to continue with that trend with the Buu saga, but Goku eventually came back and took the spotlight back. But with characters like Bular, Bra, and Pan, and Goten, and Trunks, and eventually Oob to come along eventually, we have a very interesting lineup for the next gen. No, I'm not saying that they need to get rid of Goku and Vegeta, because at the end of the day, I would figure that's one of the high selling points. But craft stories around the new gen, or let's see more teamwork between the new gen and the old gen. Because at the end of the day, it makes the story more dynamic. Gives us, the audience, more variety in terms of who to cheer for, in terms of debates, and just overall discussion and fan involvement. They tried to give all these old characters, the spotlight in the Universal Survival arc, the Tournament of Power, but really, the build-up wasn't really all that. But I think if they really take up back the whole passing things on to the new gen, but at the same time balancing things with keeping Goku and Vegeta in the mix, not just in the, what you probably hear a fan say, keeping them in a mentor role, but something more than that. Just keep them involved, but mold stories around these other characters is what I'm saying. It could be of a real benefit to the characters. Alright, power scaling and the consistency and appropriate rate of development for characters going with said power scaling, focus on the new gen. Those are two things that I'd say are definitely key to improving Dragon Ball going forward. Now, what I'll say back to my original point in terms of Dragon Ball developing into a more complex series now is the fact that we it would be good if we could get more story arcs like the Future Trunks arc, but better executed, like executed much better, honestly, because that arc had the potential. I mean, some people already consider Goku Black and Zamasu to be the best villains in the franchise. But I'm saying is that it really missed out on an opportunity to mold some solid context behind the character of Goku Black and Zamasu, and the franchise could benefit from that at the end of the day. They just need to find the right balance, is what I'm saying, because I enjoy Dragon Ball for what it is: simple, fun, and even though it's simple, there are certain themes you can get from it, like thematic writing, I guess, if that's even a thing or phrase or whatever, who knows. But yeah, just a bit more complex writing. Doesn't have to be some Full Metal Alchemist or some Naruto or One Piece level, like in terms of complexity or depth, but it could be just a bit more complex. With the over the last 10-15 years, I'd say a lot of other anime have come out, people have grown up, and it's kind of like one of those things where you have to ask, how do you balance like the fans that grew up with the show but they've matured and are probably craving something a bit more complex from their favorite series such as Dragon Ball, but balance it with the new kids, the new fans that you're trying to bring in. So I think increasing the complexity and depth of the writing with and molding the stories around some of the new generation characters, along with proper power scaling, consistency, and power development, that could benefit Dragon Ball on a whole, honestly. It being done that way keeps it still simple enough, but probably complex enough to a degree that it's beyond what we got in Super. Honestly, because I'm still longing for that Dragon Ball experience that puts it on equal footing with Z and original Dragon Ball, if not better. As much as I enjoyed Super, as I've said, Super, I mean, it's my opinion, but I would dare say, objectively speaking, Super is just not as good as Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, honestly. So that's my 2 cents. But to end this video off, I guess what I'll do or say is that I'll talk about Dragon Ball Heroes for a little bit. Is that, well, I don't really have much to say right now, but I am looking forward to it. I feel it may accomplish its goal or probably be better than Super. In the sense that I feel it will accomplish what it intends to do better than how Super went about accomplishing what it intended to do, if you get what I'm saying. This is my little basis for like comparing series. At the end of the day, Heroes it's kind of like this complete fan service games and anime and manga, which at the end of the day is just for the fun of it, I guess. But we could get some interesting storylines out of it at the end of the day, because honestly it does seem to deal with a lot of factions and areas such as the demon realm, which are yet to be even explored within the main Dragon Ball continuity or canon, quote unquote. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I'll be covering it. So anyway, let me know what you think about this. I guess discussion, just casual shit, I guess. But Sanjay Uchiha, rate, comment, subscribe, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. Fraggle Fraggle.